Welcome all, it's Chad. I'm here to present the seminar called Online Training Models That Work. Happy New Year to all you guys. I appreciate you being here very much, and I'm super sorry that we as an industry across Canada and throughout North America are going through these closures due to the pandemic again for the fourth time. So I'm really here with you guys. I'm super supportive of what we're doing, and I'm going to do my very best to pass on some tools, and I'm going to make this very much tool based. I'm going to just pass on as much information as I can and direct you as many places as possible, knowing that there's no way I can completely give you all the answers today. But I'm here for you after the seminar. Feel free to reach out to me and ask all questions. I do have some resources for you, including a couple different handouts, one of which would be this PowerPoint. If you take first thing you're going to see is I've got a promo code here called Workshop 20, and that is good for CoreFX and the Athletic 360 Athletics websites. All you got to do is when you get to the end at the checkout, drop this in the promo code, and it should give you 20% discount off most of the products except for the exclusions you see below. All right, so what are we going to try and accomplish here today? Well, very simple. There's four things I want to accomplish, and I've broken the seminar down into four different phases or four different components. One is I'm going to answer the question, what is the market and what are the opportunities for online training? A lot of which obviously I think a lot of you guys already have some pretty good insight into, and you've been minimally probably dabbling into this particular area. If you haven't, hopefully I'll give you some access point here and you'll have a better understanding of where to start. Secondarily, that is which business model or which like online model is likely to work best for you and your demographic and your current clients. Once you've figured out what model you're going to use, like what are we going to do? What steps are we going to take to start to set that model up for six, to give you the tools that are necessary for you to operate successfully in this online platform. And then last but not least, like actually operationalizing in the day-to-day operations, consistent integrations that are necessary for you to be able to optimize your CRM, your communications, your marketing promotion, etc. All right, so no matter what model you choose or what pathway you decide to go down, think through answering these four questions, okay? What problem are you solving? It's incredibly important to realize you have to solve a problem. And if you are, what is it and how are you going to uniquely position yourself to help people with that problem? Because someone else is probably also doing it, but what unique skills do you own that maybe allow you to position yourself in the online market? When people see you online and your presence become you what within 10 seconds can they clearly have a vision of who you are and what you're trying to do and what problem you're trying to solve? Are you engaging with those people that are showing interest in your product and interest in your solution to the problem? Are you engaging with them? Are you converting them into raving fans through ongoing engagement and opportunities for them? And do you have a system of accountability? Have you created a online system where you can easily hold your clients accountable? We'll talk a little bit what some of those things can be, but no matter what we do today or what model you choose or what direction you're going down, you should be able to answer these four questions in fairly short order. One of the easiest ways to kind of critically think about your business and to start wrapping your head about how you're going to answer those four questions is to do a SWOT analysis, okay? And and a gaps analysis. Those two things are incredibly important to give you that critical thought process behind the directions you're going to take your business when you go into the online world. So SWOT analysis is simply looking at the strengths that online training may exist. So some of the general strengths of online training would be maximum flexibility and convenience for both you and your clients, not limited by geography, so they can be anywhere, anytime. So you can be connected at any time. And then if we look at weaknesses, if you have a business, the employee is more than you, or even if it's just your own personal energy, is like it's hard to create culture. Although we have a lot of great tools online to work with now, and like the meeting tools with Zoom and stuff have significantly improved in such a way that it's really not that much of a loss to be decentralized when it comes to your workforce. So the hardest part is obviously creation and access to resources and equipment. So if you're going to go online, a lot of time you have to get all these resources in place, and then you have to make sure that not only are the resources in place, which we'll talk about what some of those might look like, is to get the adoption by your clients, like getting them to get into the virtual space, get the tools that they require, get the equipment that they require, and have them onboard it successfully into whatever technology you're going to integrate. What's cool and what the opportunities are here is that, like, obviously clearly you're going to see that there's multiple revenue streams online, and a lot of these revenue streams can be revenue while you sleep, which is incredibly important. So it doesn't require your presence in order for it to have success. New market is unfolding. So obviously this market is continuing to grow and evolve, and it's shape shifting itself on an ongoing basis. And technology continues to change quickly in under the online space. One of the things it does allow you to do is potentially, if you are a bricks and mortars owner, is to downsize. So if you're in a situation where you could downsize your space or change your leasehold agreements, et cetera, your overhead costs could be down significantly as a result of getting to the online space and not having as much demand for in-person. One of the threats, obviously, is to recognize that don't just hop online for the sake of hopping online. The key ingredient is to realize that what your core business is and what your clients want inside that business. So failing to ask your clients what they want and what they need would be a mistake. So be aware that you don't want to just flip your business because it's vogue or it's the right thing to do or it's what you want to do. You have to make sure that you're meeting your clients and their needs exactly where they're at. So, and or evolve them through education over time. Obviously, when you're decentralized with your workforce or even with your clients, that accountability piece, although it's easier through technology, can be challenging because it's not done face to face. So the result of that is that you have to learn how to overcome and how to manage that online space for those types of one-on-one interactions in a valuable way, especially if people are not coming together inside of a bricks and mortar space. Obviously, there's a ton of competition for this space right now, so everyone's trying to find a way in, and everybody seems to be, you know, have a social influence, and almost every person I know somehow is an influencer nowadays. So really, being authentic and consistent is incredibly important. So it may be a slow building process, but you'll get there if you're consistent in your process. Once you've done your SWOT analysis, then you have to go, well, where am I and where do I need to be? And what's the action plan and steps I'm going to take to get there? So then you want to be diligent in your process. And again, always be aware of where your clients are and to make sure that you're moving at the pace they want you to move at and get the adoption that's required for you to have success online. All right. So this is just a complete overview. Here are some of the options that are available as far as models go. You got in-person plus virtual, you got strictly virtual, you got on-demand plus live workouts, and any version of the combinations of those things can easily happen. And then what you do when you're in the virtual space, there's a number of different options available for revenue streams, which we're going to break down momentarily. One of the things to bear in mind and to keep in mind when you're going down these paths is that looking for parallel lines of revenue. So obviously in the product side of things, there's affiliates, there's ambassador programs, et cetera. And what you're looking to do is you want to pair up with people in an industry relevant way or in an online relevant way. So obviously wearables is a bit of a no-brainer. It's another way to track and keep people accountable. Some of these wearables have online software programs that allow you to see what your clients are doing on an ongoing basis. And it's just a fun way to share information with one another. So as far as supplements go, there's companies out there that obviously have strong affiliate marketing opportunities attached to them. So DocFit being one, a new company called Wakewater, which is actually an old student of mine who's one of the part owners of this company. BioSteel, which is an old friend of mine from the performance days, who used to be the strength conditioning coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and another one called Athletic Greens. They all have strong partnership relationship revenue models attached to them. So there are opportunities there to be able to generate revenue. On the fitness equipment side, obviously, you just want to look for companies that are open-minded to affiliate branding, affiliate marketing, wholesale discounts, et cetera, for you to be able to either own your own product or simply drop ship the product. And obviously that can be anything from portable fitness all the way up into industrial fitness equipment lines, depending on what your needs are and what your clients need. So again, important to start to look down these streams and to start to fill all these gaps if they exist for your business model. So what's the market look like? Okay, so before 2020, obviously there was very few people that were looking at online space. Like in general, there was about 7% of the entire workforce on the personal training, fitness, and health side, health and performance, that were actually utilizing any form of online training as part of their operational model. Whereas now, obviously, that has greatly changed. And if we look at it now, more than 58%, back in 2020 when the pandemic started, 58% of the industry reported financial loss. So obviously there was a major issue. We had very few people who were online only options for training were generally online. So therefore we had to close that gap. And that's what happened. So if you look at stats now, almost everybody in some way, shape, or form has incorporated online formats. And that does require a significant mindset shift, both philosophically from a program design and preparation perspective, and even how you format your workouts for people that are on the go, and some of it being on demand, for example. So the good news, 83% of the field has now caught up, and they're figuring out that we need to continue doing online training, even if it's only a small portion of our business. It's there to stay, and we have to make sure that we're able to do so. Like in my side of things, which is like the education and presenting side of the field, there's no chance that they're not going to offer a virtual online registration for every conference going forward. I can't imagine a conference that won't offer an online version of itself. All right, I'm going to leave this real quick. There's just a couple, I downloaded a couple articles for you guys. The links are live, so just click away and take a look. The things to take in mind here, and really all I want you to take away from that top bit of information that's up here is that it seems to be that people are moving to a place where they're doing both in person and online simultaneously. And that is sort of a consistent trend in the market on the whole, is that people are engaging in multiple forms of fitness and health and are paying to do so in multiple ways and multiple platforms. So be aware that finding the way to have a combination of in-person contact, and so which more of a hybrid model, and online presence is probably essential going forward for the optimized relationships and opportunities in fitness arena. So, and if you look at the bottom piece of this puzzle, one of the things to bear in mind is that if people are going to work out at home, they're going to purchase equipment. And secondary to that, they're not going to have as many contacts with your facility. So the value add is important. So if people were coming to your CrossFit gym, say, for example, 4 times a week, and now they're only coming twice a week and doing 2 workouts online, you have to offer online value adds to them, and or drop the price. So you have to find a way to either bring online value to keep your price point where it is, or you have to drop your price point because people aren't using it. On average, the visits per week have gone down significantly. All right, so if we look at these models over, so I've got 3 that I'm going to put up here. If you look at the virtual training model, it's a fairly straightforward model to wrap your head around. Obviously, everything you're doing is online. You got maximum flexibility in terms of, when you work, how you work, how quickly you're set up and organized to be able to run your sessions besides the tech setup stuff. In a virtual training world, depending on what the number, right, what your trainer to client ratio is, obviously if it's one-on-one, it's highly personalized. If it's small group, then it's less personalized, but still in a fairly personalized programming perspective, still really focused on personalized workouts and highly relationship based, because it's ongoing face-to-face with people in a way where obviously you're trying to really focus on the connections you have with those clients. And that benefit is that there's a lot of referral based marketing that comes as a result of having close, tight relationships. The drawback is obviously people are going to have to pay a lot of money for services. One-on-one personal training is not something that a lot of people can afford on an ongoing basis, but again, that comes down to additional demographic information on your behalf. You're maxed out on your revenue, right? If you're a trainer, you only have X number of slots per day that you're able to execute. And people that make a lot of money in this particular model often burn out within a few years of doing so, because you're working 8 to 10 hours a day on an ongoing basis, giving your heart and soul to your clients. So it can lead to being a slave to the schedule and excessive amount of burnout over time. So there's challenges and opportunities, right? If you think of like a SWOT analysis kind of mindset, there are challenges and opportunities with every one of these models. The one I sort of push toward is integrating some version of the 3 of these. So if we start looking at this, so this one that's in the middle requires very little of your time on a schedule. There's still scheduled check-ins, there's still month-to-month programming, development, et cetera, that occurs. But a lot of this can be canned, right? These can all be previously done. They can be templated. built out, a lot of upfront time. That's the sort of drawback from this. It takes a lot of time to get people set up. It takes a lot of time to get people registered. A lot of marketing and promotion time and effort goes into this. So it's not like the cost of acquisition goes down. The cost of acquisition is high, but once you have the client acquired, you then just need to navigate whatever model and whatever socioeconomic status and whatever your affordability that your client base has, and where that sits against other competitors as well, and recognize what the competition is and how you're going to uniquely solve a problem that your competition isn't doing in such a way where price becomes less of the issue, and that relationship and your accountability and some of the structures you put in place to allow you to be successful online are what people are drawn towards. So if you look at just on demand, obviously this is where it gets challenging, right? Because you've got big players in the market. We're going to come back to this in a little bit. We got Apple Fitness, for example. You've got Peloton. You've got, God only knows the 5 or 6 other different major players that have both equipment and programming attached, and at a very low price point. Sometimes the barrier to entry is the actual piece of equipment, like Peloton. You got to buy the equipment, but then the actual day-to-day, month-to-month pricing is very low. $14.99 for all access to all things all the time. Same thing applies for Mirror. So once you get into the on-demand market, obviously you have to realize that once you go down this pathway, you're really heavily competing with other companies that have done a great job and have thousands of pre-recorded workouts made available in interactive kind of ways. So that might be a challenge, but this piece in the middle is where I really think a lot of us can do great work and still focus on that personalized connected fitness piece. All right, so here's what I got. I got a series of questions for you guys. Now, this is nothing more than just to sort of give you some thought and again, some critical analysis. So what you have to recognize is that the best fit model comes from a dual perspective. There's you, the operator, and then there's the client, right? And you have to realize that those two things need to intersect with one another in order for you to have success. If you focus on what you want to do and what you truly believe your passion is, or where you think the market is heading, it's risky if you haven't also asked those same questions of your demographic, of your client base, of the people that you plan on impacting in a positive way. So questions I think about, for example, if we look at the first one, now that this I want you to play along with this. So obviously everything to the right, it's more of that and less of that. So on the left, it means you're thinking less about the question I'm about to ask you. And if I say if you're thinking more to the right, so for example, the first question here, how often do you find yourself wanting social interaction? This is Completely sorry for that disruption, everybody. I'm not sure what happened to my internet. Yeah, there's you. One of the challenges of online learning right there. All right, so back to what I was saying about the needs analysis. Okay, so first question, again, relates to social interaction, your need for it. Second question is how important is distance or schedule flexibility for you? The third question here, okay, is going to be program optimization. So we're looking at personalization optimization. So how often do I rely on specialized training equipment or hands-on training techniques? So that really comes down to, like, do you need specialized equipment to do your job? And is it cost prohibitive to have it at home or from in an online world? And the same would apply to your client too from that side of things. Fourth question is team culture and energy. Like, how important is group energy and peer sharing for your business? So, like, at Innovative Fitness, for example, a lot of our trainers are highly skilled, and when we're working around one another, we pick up ideas from one another all the time. It's a great learning environment, especially when you haven't been in the environment all that much and you go back into it. It's an exceptional opportunity for you to learn from your clients, not from your clients, but from your team members. And then oftentimes we have like ongoing staff meetings once a week, so that kind of sharing can be done online, obviously, but it's just better when you're in that energy sometimes. So, how important is that to you, left or right? Five, schedule capacity, right? Do you feel limited by or exhausted from the number of training hours per day? So it really comes down to like how your personal energy levels come down to your schedule, and have you maxed out your capacity to do so one-on-one based on bricks and mortar scheduling. And last but not least is the cost of doing business limiting your profit margin. So if the cost of your bricks and mortar is eating into your profit margins because your expense is too high relative to revenue that you're generating from your business. And then obviously we're going to answer these questions left or right. So based on where you answered those questions left or right, and these are just a general set of questions, you could adapt those and change those up a little bit and ask yourself them differently. But it's sort of to give you an idea of where you land in terms of, are you ready for the online space, or are you better off in bricks and mortars? So you get the idea here, okay? So the idea here is just to sort of work your way through these questions and see it just as a fun way to see where you land. Like, how close are you? Now that's you, what your needs analysis, but you have to do the exact same thing for your client. So imagine this same screen with slightly different questions angled more towards your clients to see where they fit versus bricks and mortars. And I'm going to pop that slide up there real quick, but we're not going to go into any deep analysis of it. But you want to do the exact same analysis with your clients, asking them the appropriate questions. And some of that, is about setting up for success. So this is where we get into the client-based model. So there's a client-centered industry. We're here to service clients and obviously have success for ourselves, but finding that balance between the two is incredibly important. So if we look at it from that perspective, you have to identify your demographic, right? So the demographic that you're passionate about working with, but at the same time can generate good revenue for, and then where in the online space are the revenue opportunities for that demographic. So if we start looking at it from a very basic perspective, you look at the age, the sex, the economics, socioeconomic status of your client. Those are very low-hanging fruit type things. Then you have to, how how do I rank up against my competitors? But not just from a perspective like, meet with those guys. Like, yeah, you have competitors, but like a lot of people in our industry like to share. They like, if you reach out to them and say you're really impressed by how they're doing business and you're incredibly curious how they've had the degree of success they've had, because we're all in this together. I find a lot of people very helpful and willing to share best practices with each other. So therefore, meet, call someone out, give them some love, pump their tires a little bit, and then ask them if you can meet and have a coffee, or take them out for a coffee, or out for a drink, or out for a meal, and pick their brain and see what it is that made them successful, particularly if they have a similar demographic breakdown as you do. Obviously, you want to take a quick look and review your gaps analysis. Just go back and reflect on that, make sure where you're at currently versus where you need to be and how you're going to get there, that you've got those steps put in, or at least a plan that you're planning on operationalizing against. Again, reflect and make sure you clearly have a vision and mission on how you're going to uniquely solve the problems for your demographic. Recognize that some demographics are going to be more open. So younger people obviously are going to be super open to adapting technology, and they're probably likely to do it so faster than will be older people or people that were, less ingrained with technology their entire life. And even those people will adapt, but you have to sometimes help them. So you're a little bit more onboarding process required. Okay. And then what's the need for social interaction? So if the group of people you're working with really benefit highly from mental and emotional connection, and they get that by being around other people, then you're going to have to sort of determine where you fit on the spectrum of online to bricks and mortar. So, okay, so what's the preferred client model, right? So you got to ask them questions. To be honest, like just simply send out survey monkeys. Go online, go to IG, do some random polls. Obviously, that's you know, they're just data. Just get as much data as you possibly can. Talk to your competitors, like I mentioned previously in the other slide, and just get as much information as you can, so you're going in with a general idea of what they're consuming and what they like or dislike in this particular platform of the online virtual space, because they'll tell you what they like or dislike and where they think that you could be super helpful to them and their needs. Again, and then look at some of the accessorizing, right? So some of the adjunct revenue streams that may exist for you. Don't assume anything. Just because you think you've done the research and you think you've identified the gaps and you know where you want to go in the online space doesn't mean that they feel the same way. So a lot of times we make the mistake of thinking we know our clients well, when in fact what we failed to do is just simply ask them what they want. Here's that same breakdown. I've changed a couple of the words on the arrows, but just run that exact same breakdown for your clients. Like ask them those questions on the survey and see where they land for it, so you know how far away they are from adopting and going on to the online space or wanting any part of it on an ongoing basis, or what percentage of interaction they would like to have online versus bricks and mortar. Same idea, see where you land. Good. And then that way you can help identify that best fit model, right? So the key ingredient to best fit model is to meet them where they're at. So you won't know that unless you ask those questions. So ask those key questions to determine what your clients want and what services they're particularly interested in online versus in person. Hold them accountable, right? So no matter where you go with this, when you're in the online space, it's essential that you have regular check-ins and that's consistent and that they know they're coming and that they know that you're there to support them and or challenge them if it's necessary. So whatever it is, the assessments, the regular contact, the check-ins, the the morale boost, the behavior modification check-ins, the nutrition check-ins, et cetera, whatever revenue pathways you decided on, make sure you're there for your clients. Link them to the services and the businesses that you're in relationships with. Like I have already done that with you guys, right? By giving you the promo code to 360 Athletics and Core Effects. Like I've already linked you to a business that I have a relationship with, and they value our relationship because they know it's a two-way one. Create multiple revenue streams. Again, that's just take a look at the options that are available to you, and I'm going to present some of those momentarily. Just because someone is doing an online business model well, so you've got a social influencer who you see is doing this, 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 and this, that may not be the model that works best for you. So one size does not fit all. Your job is to meet your clientele exactly where they're at and to turn them into raving fans as best you possibly can by servicing them the way they want to be serviced. All right, what services are you going to offer? Well, the point of this slide is very simple, is that there's a lot of different options. Like I actually pulled this as a screenshot off the Trainerize website. These are all the offerings that Trainerize currently have, or at least that was like 3 months ago or so, but that's what they were promoting as the services they offered. So there's all these different opportunities, and each one of these basically represents a way to generate revenue through resources, right? Regardless which way you go, pick 3 or 4 revenue streams and start to execute against them. Make sure you have no less than 3 revenue streams in your business at any given time when you're online, because if any one of those falls flat or pivots or something changes in the technology side of things and something modifies your revenue opportunities in that stream, then you have at least a buffer through the other revenue streams that exist for you. So it's really important to realize that at least 3 revenue streams is a safe model to keep you ongoingly in a revenue positive environment. All right, so what are the other considerations? There's a lot of stuff to think about. I don't mean to overwhelm you in any way, shape, or form. Just here to give you tools and to point you into the direction of sniffing, recognizing that most of the businesses or software platforms I'm about to suggest all have free trials available to them. So you can go in and try, no cost to you, and learn different pieces of the puzzle and see what's going to work for you. And I'm not saying you need to do all of these either. Just pick 2 or 3 key streams. And I've got 4 things I'm going to mention that you really want to sort of keep in mind. If we dig deep into this, there's a lot of different integrations that could occur. So everything from your entrepreneurial operating system and some of the software that goes along with your home base or your website, your POS or your payment services, your traction and lead capture, your SEO, which is your search engine optimization, your performance analytics to see how well any of your marketing promotional campaigns are working and how well your website's actually attracting engagement, for example, your digital social media engagement, your calendars, your communications, your workout builders, your interval timers. Like, it's an excessive amount of possibilities available to you. Your job is to do what's ever necessary to make your business run in a smooth way and to give your clients the best possible service. All right, so to create success, right? Creating success is not as easy as it sounds. It's usually, and a lot of people get, especially when there's a lot of competition, it's going to be a slower growth process. It's going to be very difficult to go in and penetrate the market quickly, but it can happen, and you just have to focus on the long term goals versus short term goals. Have short term goals, but focus on the big picture, long and the long play versus the short play. All right, so regardless, your job is to execute, execute, and execute, and be consistent in that execution. Try not to squirrel too much. It's very difficult to not squirrel, especially when you're not seeing the kind of instantaneous results that you're looking for, but just keep going. That's step 1, step 2, and step 3, and just repeat the process over and over. This slide is just an overview slide. These are some of the things you have to think about when you're taming your tech, your AV platform, setup, which is called claps, camera, lighting, audio, presentation, and set, your program and your program builders, productivity software, which is going to look at your ecom, your EOS, your communications, your scheduler. I'm really going to focus on those last 4 over the course of the next few slides, although they're all going to be covered. So this is all covered in the next few slides. Okay, so the virtual platform you use matters depending on what you're trying to achieve. So when I'm doing presentations like this, the platform I'm using called StreamYard works incredibly well, except for when it bunks, or I think that was an internet related problem. I think that was the intranets and the Wi-Fi signal. But Zoom has done a great job of adapting. They consistently have changed and adapted and added new tools in. They're constantly in beta with new stuff. It's pretty cool, actually, to be perfectly honest. But regardless where you go, it has to be determined based on what you need the business model to do for you and what you believe the perceived value of that model is, right? Each of those models are different. Trainerize is going to charge you a monthly fee, for example, or per client fee. Workout's going to charge you per workout, a percentage or a certain dollar amount associated with each of your training sessions when you do them online. You know, Zoom's going to charge you on a monthly basis. Google Meets is free, or well, essentially free anyway, up to a certain point, depending on how you want to use it. But what's missing from some of these are specific tools that can help you service your clients in unique ways, which it can often give you an advantage when you're working with clients, particularly in this space and looking to penetrate that market. So really comes down to things like how much usage there's going to be, what the specific usage is going to be, the number of clients per session. So for example, some of these like workout has been trying really hard, but they're currently optimized to do 4 people at the same time on screen, unless that has changed recently, which is possible. Google Meets, obviously you can get X number of people on the screen at the same time. I forget what the total number is. Zoom, same idea. Like you can obviously have breakout rooms and various ways to get lots of people on there at the same time, but the max number of people will come down to the cost of the business model you've purchased. Can you record it for playback? So like this, obviously I'm recording this one today, so that the idea, I pre-recorded this so that you guys can watch it on Thursday, and then I can answer questions while that's happening. All these things have different field of view optimization. When I look at StreamYard, for example, it's very difficult for me to optimize anything but me on the screen. So whatever I choose as a screen, they see the exact same thing. Versus Workout, which is a platform I'm quite familiar with, they're big on their screen, or I'm big on their screen, but they're big on my screen. So it's actually viewer optimized, which is pretty cool, and it's a great little add-on that most of these platforms don't have. All this thing's going to matter, right? So you start getting into your AV, like speed of camera focus matters. So the autofocus has to focus relatively quickly, so it looks seamless. And that usually comes down to the frames per second. So if the frame per second is 15 or less, you're going to notice clear gaps while it's trying to focus. If it's 30 seconds or 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second, it's going to look seamless on screen all the time. So a lot of things matter when it comes to this kind of stuff. Your job is to try that out exactly the way you want to use it before making a purchase commitment. So go and try out the platforms, try out your AV. If it's a webcam like I'm currently using, try it and be absolutely willing to bring it back if it doesn't meet your needs. Do a little homework. Again, remember there's key piece of information in here. Like I just said, 30 frames per second minimum is what I would work with when it comes to this. 1080p, 30 frames per second, color optimization. So you want to see that the colors are crisp and clear and consistent, and you want to make sure that there's low light adjustment so it can adapt to low light situations and adapt to overlight situations. So like this camera that I'm using right now will wash it completely when I'm outdoors. All right, so I've got a handout for this one. I specifically have a full handout. There's a PDF. All you got to do is email me, chad@ptacademy.ca, Chad, CHAD, at ptacademy.ca, or you can hit me up on Instagram at ptacademy.ca as well. And then I will just if you do hit me up on Instagram, drop your email so that I can send you this. Okay, it's a great little handout. It tells you exactly how to set up your space and gets into all the key details that are written on here. I just put these two pictures up here to give you a couple of examples of really cool built-out home spaces. One of the things I'm a major fan of is not using the laptop. I have big screen TVs in my room. I could spin this thing right now and show you, like, all of my client sessions are done on big screen TVs. A, it makes me feel like I'm in the room with the people, and B, I can see a lot more. It's just a lot more engaged environment. And when my client's on a laptop versus I always try and have them get into a TV setup. And then obviously my job is to affiliate with as many companies as necessary and help solve them any equipment gaps that they have in order to be able to make sure they have an optimized training space best we possibly can for their particular environment. The productivity piece, okay, so one of the things I'm not a big fan of is overwhelming myself, my employees, and the people around me with a ton of different platforms because they all work differently. They're all optimized to do what they do, and some of them integrate incredibly well with your websites and some of them don't. That said, productivity is incredibly important. So the key pieces of productivity, e-com I didn't have up here because I added that in, but making sure, if you're looking at the e-com, I mean, it could be PayPal, it could be as simple as getting people to register on Eventbrite, it could be your own website, it could be WordPress, and WooCom and stuff like that, WooCommerce that come along with the WordPress. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. Your job is to make sure you've synced things up and that you're able to communicate effectively. Now, there's both internal communication and external communication. So in terms of lead captures, is incredibly important to realize that's an important piece here. So that would be where you're getting into like the MailChimps and the constant contacts and that kind of software to make sure you're actually obtaining database information. PayPal and places like that can also collect database information. People, there's some rules and regulations around how people opt into communication versus not. But and then internal platform that works incredibly well because you can have multiple groups running simultaneously in a very slick and seamless way, and some internal like ways to communicate between groups using certain terminologies and certain hashtags, etc. What's pretty amazing is Slack. So take a look at Slack again. All these companies, and then from a calendar scheduler perspective, one of my favorite ones is Calendly. Sorry. What that enables me to do is I go in and I set my business hours. So I can set up my business hours and people can book inside those business hours. So I could very specifically say, hey, I'm available between this time and that time. I can change as much as I want. On on an ongoing basis and to adapt to the whatever flexibility that I want in my business. That said, I think it's a great way for your clients to be able to engage and see when you're available versus this back and forth stuff that just strips so much time out of your own day when you're just going back and forth, adjusting schedules, etc. Just create and commit to some business hours and execute against them. The 90IO is a great business tool. If you're trying to, there's things called rocks in here. There's meeting notes, there's meeting execution software built into this. There's a whole bunch of EOS related stuff in here that allows you to run a accountability system with your employees and be able to, consistently communicate and reflect back on upon previous weeks, etc. It's awesome. You get full reviews of the meetings that you guys run. Everyone's rocks are made available, so for review, especially if you're the administrator of the account, etc. A lot of cool information in here. So again, create an account, go ahead and take a look at it. I think you'd be impressed if you're running, especially if you have groups of people to communicate with. Okay, programming. Obviously, at the end of the day, there's a lot of different options here, and this is continually changing on an ongoing basis. What you need to do is find out what tools really matter to you. How what your program builder looks like, how important program building is, what kind of model of program building you want to be able to execute against, and then go in and test the software to see if it'll do it. Trainerize has some great accountability software when it comes to the programming side of things. Workout and Lift do a great job with the assessment tools and some of the built-in tools that are in there, so you can actually like show people in live time any structure or any movement management things that you really want to focus on and give them instant visual feedback through some of the tools that they have. And then, Workout has an online timers, Lift session has built-in Tabata timers, etc. So there's a lot of cool tools. Each one of these is going to be unique. So go and take a look at them and see what you get out of it. One of the things I'm a big fan of is if you have a whiteboard, although it can be very, time consuming again, is when you can go in and drop your own content into the site. So Trainerize allows people to actually build their own workout library that they can share with their clients. A lot of times people just take the shortcut and grab, the exercises from other people's libraries because it's an open forum. It's a shared marketplace. But at the same time, being able to build out your own whiteboard is awesome. But you can also do things as simple as just having a Google Drive and dropping all your videos and having separate Google accounts or file folders for all of your clients, dropping various videos and programs and stuff into those drives and just share the drive with the clients so they have full access to everything. So, there's a lot of options here when it comes to this type of online training space and when you start getting into um, cloud memories, etc. So last couple slides here, guys. So again, we talked about this very quickly, but when you think about accessorizing, like you got to think, well, what tools either are going to help my clients, are going to allow me to establish a new revenue stream, or allow me to service my clients at a higher level uniquely. How many different engagement points can I have that other people aren't doing with their clients? That's the key thing to remember, is if you're doing something that other people aren't doing, it's going to uniquely position you to have success, and people are going to talk about it. So things like, for me, because corrective exercise and corrective mobility are hugely important, I use various forms of software like FMS. In the past, I've used TRX Maps. There's another company that's completely eluding me right now that I quite like. Um, I don't know, I forget the name of it, but it has great movement assessment software built into it, and I've used it in the past. I recently haven't used it only because it got sort of cost prohibitive for me, given that I have my own method of assessment that I like to do. You can build things like there's interval based software that you can build in there. This one's an iOS integration called Interval Cam, for example. Regardless which online platform you choose, you have to have an online presence. So some of the online presence areas are going to include your website and its built-in blog. And now, online digital marketing promotion is hugely important and massive to how you're going to have success in the virtual space. So things that you really need to think about are lead captures, lead magnets, SEO, focusing on both a combination of paid and organic SEO. So a lot of times you have to pay for your SEO, and that's like, through various, paying for Google ads and paying for Instagram ads and Facebook ads while you're building up your organic abilities and building up your organic search. Like when I was with BCPTI, we paid almost no money for any digital marketing promotion, and we worked heavily on Google reviews and various forms of blog writing, lead magnets, etc. And we had a ton of lead capture to be able to build up our platform and our promotion. So some of the things that are out there, though, that if you want to take on some of these activities yourself or go to a free marketplace and save yourself a fortune when it comes to the cost of digital marketing, because it can be very cost prohibitive and expensive. There's an app called Fiverr that allows you to go and do search and check for specific people. So I have had my logo developed on Fiverr. I have my website developed on Fiverr. I almost all the digital marketing material that you see that has PTA logos on it all came from Canva. Obviously, I'm learning my way through it, but I'm getting better and better and better at actually building out, I would say, consistently branded promotion and marketing material, which has been awesome. And it's been, super helpful because it saved me a lot of money to be able to do so. So having a few tools in your toolbox. Now, if you're really not into it, Fiverr is going to literally cost you 20 cents on the dollar compared to what it would cost you to hire such people here in Canada. Obviously, you have to have some kind of presence online and in your social presence. There's lots of great examples out there of people that have done an exceptional job with this. You can either pay for the online presence, or you can do it organically. Again, really the key ingredients, not the numbers. Don't look at the numbers. There's a couple key things to bear in mind, but focus on true fans, like connecting with the people that are liking your post, the people that are talking to you on your post, that you're also looking at their posts and you're talking to them and engaging them in a meaningful way to make it, to have a two-way conversation and relationship with these people, because those are the people that are going to support you no matter what else is going on in your business. When you're in the online space, it's difficult to understand because these algorithms for all these different social platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, IG, TikTok, they keep constantly changing the algorithm. So although you could one day have greatest amount of success and engagement off a post, the next day it'd be nothing because you've missed the algorithm. You've posted the wrong time of day. You missed the hashtag, you didn't get the hashtag game right, etc. Like there's so many parts of this. Do your research, go online, take a look, read some things about algorithms specifically for the sites that you're going to use that are in a specific alignment with your target audience and your demographic. All right. Regardless of how you break this down, your job is to get engaged, raving fans. Your job is to engage with them as much as they're going to engage with you. You're there really to support your clients and support your database, your online presence in every way possible to the best of your ability, to care deeply about people, to affiliate with important causes, and to truly sort of diversify your portfolio and when it comes to engaging in unique ways in the online world. So you can't be a one-trick pony here. You have to do a lot of different legwork. You got to work in a lot of different spaces, but you have to be consistent in your message, be authentic in your message, and care about other people's well-being in a very authentic way. As much as I would love to tell you that your technical skills and how great of a trainer you are going to give you success in the online space, although you definitely need technical skills, you're non-technical. I care about you. You're important to me. How you show up in the online space in a caring, authentic way will matter more from a service and a enrollment revenue generating way than anything you're going to do from a skill set perspective, unless you're an absolute freak of nature, which is entirely possible. Last but not least, there's that promo code one last time. It's Workshop 20. Go and support the businesses that have supported me. We'd greatly appreciate it. If it happens to get you some equipment that's going to allow you to service your clients over the course of these next few weeks while we're all still stuck in like our semi-lockdown, can't see people in live real time, and we're working hard to try and pivot into the online space again. I'm here for you. Reach out to me at any time. Do everything. I'm here in any way, shape, or form that I can be helpful, and I mean that to the bottom of my heart. So please, Chad at ptacademy.ca. If you have any questions, hit me up on all the different social sites that I have, and I look forward to chatting with you guys. Talk soon.